Welcome to True Crime's Altar, where every sin is punished, every betrayal has a cost, and every soul must answer to the truth. She raised a son. She built a home. She gave her heart to a man who promised to protect it. But behind his vows was a lie that grew teeth. He didn't kill her himself. He didn't have to, because he found someone more vulnerable, more broken, and he fed him guilt until it tasted like loyalty. By the time the truth surfaced, it was already too late. A mother was dead. A family was shattered. And the one person who should have stopped it had orchestrated it all. This is the story of Nia Brooks and the man who loved her just enough to destroy her. Because sometimes the devil doesn't knock. Sometimes he hands you the gun. She built everything with her own hands. A boutique salon that pulled in high-end clientele, a brick townhouse she remodeled herself, and a family people quietly envied. But the man she loved, her partner in name only, watched it all with the patience of a predator. He didn't rush. He waited. They said he served his country with honor. A decorated veteran, a faithful husband, a proud father. But behind the folded flags and military pride was a man whose failures screamed louder than his devotion. And when the bills stacked too high and temptation got too close, he didn't just betray her. He orchestrated a horror so vile it needed no explanation, just consequences. What happened inside that house the night Nia Brooks took her last breath wasn't random. It wasn't a mistake. It was calculated. And for a moment, it worked. Perfectly. To anyone passing through the quiet neighborhoods of Harrows Hill, South Carolina, the Ellis home looked like security wrapped in brick and seasonal charm. 2 stories, pristine lawn, ivy along the porch railing, the kind of place that whispered peace. Inside lived a family that, on paper, was aspirational. Randall Ellis, 53, was a former Army intelligence officer. Medals on the wall, discipline in his voice. His neighbors trusted him. Men shook his hand firmly. Women nodded respectfully when he gave advice at the hardware store. But his wife, Nia Brooks, she was a world apart. Polished, strategic, admired by nearly everyone who crossed her path. She owned a natural hair salon in the heart of the city, not in a strip mall, but in a historic space surrounded by law offices and private clinics. Business boomed. What most didn't realize was that Nia had come from quiet wealth. Her father died young. Her mother passed before her 30th birthday. She inherited everything. Real estate, stocks, a life insurance policy that sat untouched until someone noticed. Together, Randall and Nia had one child, Isaiah, 23, searching for himself and not doing a great job of it. He bounced between warehouse gigs, online side hustles, and community college classes he never finished. He was soft-spoken but scattered, like a man still looking for his shape. Isaiah wasn't lazy, but he wasn't grounded either, especially not lately. Gambling apps had sunk their hooks into him, and borrowed money never came back. Friends stopped answering his texts. He slept late. Still, from the outside, they looked like any close family. Holiday photos, backyard barbecues, matching outfits on Easter. But inside, Nia's long stares across dinner, Randall's growing absences, Isaiah's shrinking eye contact all told the truth. On Isaiah's 23rd birthday, Nia threw a celebration that rivaled weddings. Catered food, gold and navy decor, string lights, laughter spilling out into the night air. Randall played host like nothing was wrong, cracking jokes, refilling drinks, acting the part. But behind his smile, his eyes moved like they were clocking exits. That's when she arrived. Tiana Graves, slender frame, soft curls, wide smile, a sundress that caught the light. She introduced herself as Isaiah's girlfriend, and Nia smiled kindly. Randall said nothing. He just stared, not like a father, like a man assessing risk. Tiana laughed at his first joke, touched his arm lightly when he handed her a drink. Nia noticed. So did her cousin, Lorraine, a woman who knew exactly what that flicker in Randall's eyes meant. They said nothing. But the house shifted that night, and Tiana wasn't going anywhere. Randall used to wear his army past like armor. It wasn't just part of him, it was his identity. 16 years in, honorably discharged technically. But if you listen closely, his story always shifted. Sometimes it was politics, sometimes injury, sometimes just bad timing. What was consistent was the bitterness, the quiet kind. He tried business after leaving the service, a trucking startup, a home security partnership with another veteran. Both folded within a year. Nia offered help, but his pride got in the way. He borrowed from friends, took out short-term loans, dabbled in Forex, vending machines, even crypto. Everything flopped. And every time Nia's salon posted record numbers, his silence grew louder. But the crack didn't widen until he found a bank statement on Nia's desk. She hadn't hidden it, but she also hadn't advertised it. A well-managed trust, 6 figures in dividend income, real estate profits from her late father's holdings. Randall stared at the numbers like they were written in another language. That night, he left the house and didn't return for hours. Ended up at a dive bar 1 county over. That was the night he paid for affection for the first time. It didn't even feel like cheating, just control. A choice. And control is addictive. 1 became 2. 2 became routine. Randall told himself Nia was too busy, too cold, that a man had needs. But deep down, he didn't want love. He wanted revenge, the quiet kind. The kind that blooms slowly and eats everything in its path. By Isaiah's 20th birthday, Randall had a burner phone, a second email, and debts in multiple directions. His credit was in ruins. The car he drove was 3 payments behind. He owed strangers and old friends alike. But to the world, he was still Randall Ellis. Veteran. Father. Man of the house. He shook hands at church and offered to mow elderly neighbors' lawns. Inside, though, he snapped at small things. Drank alone. Came home late. Nia stopped asking questions. And Isaiah? He just tried to stay out of his father's way. Randall didn't become a monster overnight. He curdled slowly, quietly, until he was unrecognizable. Nia had always been a woman of forward motion. Her mother died when she was 11. Her father, Ernest Brooks, raised her on structure and savings accounts. He owned a small logistics company, a few duplexes, and believed strongly in 2 things, God and compound interest. By her early 20s, Nia had more business sense than most men twice her age. When Ernest passed in his sleep, he left her with more than wealth. He left her a plan. Properties, a financial advisor, letters with instructions. She didn't waste any of it. She studied, she built, and within 2 years opened her first salon. Not a chair in someone else's shop, her rules, her vision. By the time she met Randall at a retirement banquet, she already had momentum. He was tall, measured, charming. A soldier with calloused hands and polished words. He told her she was brilliant, that she made him want to be better. She believed him. For a while, it was good. When Isaiah was born, Randall was present, attentive. And when Nia opened a second salon 5 years later, he threw the launch party. To the outside world, they were a power couple. Ambitious, steady, enviable. But something broke when Randall left the military. He came home aimless, irritable. At first, he said it was transition. Civilian life was hard. But soon came the mood swings, the spending, the side hustles that never panned out. Nia found a sports betting notification on his phone once. He brushed it off. Then came the late-night absences, the sketchy calls, the cash withdrawals. She didn't confront him, not yet. She documented, quietly. She knew better than to be caught off guard. And still, with all her preparation, nothing could have warned her just how far Randall would go. Some betrayals don't come with a warning shot. They arrive smiling, then take everything you thought was sacred. Tiana Graves had the kind of presence that made people drop their guard, a smile that lingered, a voice that never rose above gentle. One day, it was box braids and oversized hoodies. The next, silk blouses and French tips. You couldn't quite pin her down, and that was intentional. When Isaiah brought her home, Nia saw the hesitation in his voice. Not embarrassment, something else. like he couldn't decide whether he was proud or in over his head. Tiana shook hands soft, called Nia Miss Brooks, and thanked her 3 times just for the invite. Randall, watching from behind the grill, didn't blink. Later, as he cleared empty trays from the patio, he asked Isaiah, "That your girl, or just somebody filling time?" Isaiah smirked. "We vibin'. Ain't that deep yet." That was all Randall needed. Tiana started showing up more often. At first, Nia didn't question it. Isaiah had always brought people close quickly, then let them drift just as fast. But Tiana was different. She didn't just stay in his room. She drifted through the house like she'd paid rent. She laughed too loud at Randall's jokes, complimented his watch, brushed past him in the hallway without stepping aside. Nia noticed. So did Lorraine. One night, Nia walked into the living room and found Tiana curled up on the couch alone. Tank top, no bra. Randall sat nearby. Too close. His posture relaxed, his gaze slow. The air in the room shifted. Later, Nia mentioned it to Lorraine over tea. "That girl too comfortable in my house," she said. Lorraine raised a brow but didn't say more. Some things speak loud enough without echo. Tiana wasn't just confident. She was strategic. It started small, comments that landed too soft. "I like your cologne, Mr. Ellis. You keep your skin real tight for a man your age." Then came the late-night visits when Isaiah wasn't home. She'd claim she forgot something or that he told her to wait inside. Randall never questioned her, poured her wine instead. After the 3rd time, the excuses stopped. So did the hesitation. Randall kissed her first, in the kitchen, a soft invitation while Nia was out of town visiting her godson. Tiana didn't resist. She leaned into it. Not out of love, but leverage. The older man with financial wounds and a failing marriage had just created a secret worth more than loyalty. Randall moved fast, called her baby in private.
If you're enjoying this video, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. Share and like this video. It's free and won't cost anything, but it helps and encourages us to grow and do more. Thank you for your kindness, and back to the video.
"You and me could really start fresh once this is over," he whispered once, hands tangled in her hair. "Ain't nobody holding us back but this house. And what's in it?" He never said Nia's name. He didn't need to. Tiana just smiled. She didn't trust Randall any more than she trusted Isaiah. But she knew the game. Make a man feel young, seen, needed, and he'll offer you the world just to keep believing the lie. She was never loyal to either. Isaiah gave her a place to crash, free weed, and rides. Randall offered fantasy, freedom, a payout. She didn't know how far either man would go, but she knew how to keep them hungry. That was enough. Randall didn't call it a plan at first. It started as a conversation, a late-night musing between father and son they hadn't shared in years. "You ever wonder what your mom got stacked away?" he asked once as they sat on the back porch, both looking at the stars but seeing nothing. Isaiah, half-lit and frustrated, shrugged. "She's smart. She work hard. I ain't in her pockets." Randall chuckled like it was a joke. "She got a policy worth over $500,000 sitting there. All that money, untouched. And here we are, stretched thin." Isaiah didn't answer. The air between them felt wrong. Randall didn't push. That was his talent, planting thoughts without owning them. Over the next few weeks, his comments got sharper. "You know she ain't even put you in the will yet, right? She talk about trust, but she ain't invest in none of your ideas. I heard her on the phone moving money around, probably setting herself up to leave us both." Randall wasn't just suggesting. He was eroding. And Isaiah, broke, ashamed, and spiraling, was vulnerable. His last 3 jobs had ended quietly. His car note was 2 months late. Debt collectors were calling burner numbers. One even left a voicemail on the house phone. Nia heard it. She didn't say anything, just gave him a look that didn't need translation. And Tiana, she was slipping too. Still showing up. Still sleeping over. But cold. Distant. Her laugh was gone. Her kisses shorter. One night, He leaned in and she turned her head. Randall, meanwhile, had become warmer with her, laughing, pouring drinks, touching the small of her back as she passed. Everyone in that house was moving like Isaiah was in the way. One night, Randall didn't even bother to mask it. If she was gone, he muttered, things would be different. You'd be free. I'd be free. That money? That's a reset. A clean slate. Isaiah froze. What you mean, gone? Randall stared at him, eyes steady. I'm saying life would be easier if we stopped letting her run it. Isaiah exploded, threw a chair, called him sick, said he'd never lay a hand on his mother. Stormed out, fists clenched, head pounding. He drove aimlessly, screamed into the dark, punched the steering wheel. Nothing helped. Back at the house, Tiana stood by the window, watching the street swallow his taillights. Then she turned to Randall and whispered, he's almost ready. And in that moment, sin spoke louder than blood. It always does. It started with a stumble. Or maybe just the sound of keys scraping against the front lock. Whatever it was after 2 a.m. when Isaiah staggered into the house. His breath stung with alcohol, eyes glassy, shirt wrinkled, his mind a fog of pills, rage, and regret. The house was quiet, except for the soft glow in the kitchen, that glow Nia always left on when her son hadn't come home. She was sitting at the counter, silk robe tied, eyes soft, not angry, just tired. Isaiah, she said gently, where you been, baby? Simple words, soft, but to him they felt like knives, like shame wearing a mother's face. He dropped his keys hard on the counter, walked past her. Hey, she said, standing. I asked you a question. You okay? Don't start. I'm not starting nothing. You always on me. Every time I walk in here, it's something. She stepped forward, hands raised. You high, baby. Just breathe, back up off me. Isaiah, then it happened. The push. Sudden. Violent. Thoughtless. She hit the counter hard. Her head snapped into the cabinet. A soft moan escaped her lips before she slid to the floor, unmoving. Her eyes fluttered. She was still alive. Barely. He stood over her, chest heaving, heart racing. Shame twisted with confusion. His hand touched her face, her waist, then lower. And in that moment, clouded by ego, grief, and something darker, he sexually violated his own mother. The act was quiet, detached, unreal, like watching a nightmare from inside his own skull. The hum of the refrigerator, her faint breath, the sound of his own guilt swallowing him alive. Then footsteps. Randall appeared at the edge of the hallway. He didn't shout. He didn't flinch. He watched, still, cold. Isaiah froze, breath shallow, hands trembling. But Randall didn't speak. He turned, walked away. Isaiah stayed crouched, paralyzed with horror. Then Randall returned, not empty-handed. He held a pistol, not raised, just extended, like it was nothing. Like it was a brush and this scene needed one final stroke. Do it, he said. And with that one word, a father ceased to be a man. He became the architect of ruin. Isaiah stared at the gun like it was a mirror reflecting a version of himself he couldn't recognize. Then he looked at his mother, barely breathing, her robe soaked with the first bloom of blood. His hand moved, not with conviction, but detachment, as if his body belonged to someone else now. He took the weapon, loosely, fingers trembling. Tears welled but refused to fall. Then, 4 shots, each louder than the last, each ripping through flesh, memory, and the last thread of humanity left in the room. Nia Brooks, mother, wife, business owner, daughter of legacy, was gone, and her killer still stood breathing. The smoke hadn't even cleared when Isaiah dropped the pistol. It clattered against the tile and spun like it had its own heartbeat before coming to rest beside a drop of blood that shimmered under the kitchen light. His hands shook, coated in a sticky film of sweat, guilt, and something far worse. Across from him, Nia lay slumped, eyes empty, blood pooling beneath her shoulder. The silence swallowed everything. Then came the smell, the copper, the finality. Isaiah stumbled backward, hitting the counter. What did I do? He murmured. The high was gone, the adrenaline fading. All that was left was a storm inside his chest. Randall moved calmly, too calmly. He picked up the gun using the hem of his t-shirt, walked to the sink, rinsed it, wrapped it in a dish towel, and placed it in the drawer like it was a leftover from dinner. No panic, no second thoughts. Just the precision of a man who had practiced this moment in his mind for months. Isaiah dropped to his knees beside Nia's body, sobbing now. Mama? Mama, no. Mama, I didn't. But it was already done. The warmth was leaving her skin. Her eyes no longer blinked. The past tense had begun. Behind him, Randall pulled out his phone, dialed 911 with the coolness of a man ordering takeout. Yeah, he said, voice steady. I need officers and medical over here. My son just shot my wife. He came home drunk, got violent. She's not breathing. The dispatcher asked for details. Randall gave them like he was filling out a job application. Clear, calm, nothing cracked. Isaiah didn't even register the call until Randall hung up. Then came the betrayal, sharp and sudden. You told them it was me, Isaiah whispered. Randall nodded slowly. You pulled the trigger. You gave me the gun, Isaiah stammered. Randall stepped forward. His voice dropped. Don't talk crazy now. You were high. You snapped. I walked in too late. That's what happened. You hear me? No, Isaiah said, backing away. You planned this. I said that's what happened. And just like that, the boy who had been manipulated, broken, and pushed over the edge became the villain in Randall's perfect story. Betrayal doesn't always come with blood. Sometimes it comes with a calm voice and a lie so smooth it feels like truth. By the time the police arrived, Randall had rehearsed the scene into perfection. The distraught father, the confused, incoherent son, the lifeless wife, the weapon tucked away, the lights on low. It all fit the narrative. They cuffed Isaiah on the floor. He didn't resist. He didn't scream. He just stared, blank, empty, undone, as the flashing red and blue lights painted the living room walls. Randall gave his statement on the porch, voice lowered to just the right level of grief. If anyone had looked closer, they might have noticed it, just for a second, faint flicker of satisfaction behind his eyes. Nia's candlelight vigil was held 4 days later. A circle of tea lights surrounded the church annex. Soft hymns played from a Bluetooth speaker tucked near the door. Former clients came wrapped in shawls and sorrow. Stylists held each other. But no one had words. Not for this. Not for a mother taken by her own son. Or so they were told. Randall stood near the altar, eyes downcast, reciting the same explanation over and over. Isaiah came home late. He was high. She tried to calm him down. It escalated. Each word soaked in false regret. Some guests wept when he spoke. Some hugged him. But Lorraine, standing at the back, never moved. She watched him with eyes that had seen too many lies in Sunday suits. She had known Randall too long to miss the signs. The speech was too perfect. Not a single word out of place. No stutter, no cracked voice. He spoke of Nia's faith, her beauty, her love for Isaiah, but nothing about their recent tension. Nothing about his own absence. He cried. But Lorraine had seen him cry before. This wasn't it. These were performance tears, the kind rehearsed in mirrors. After the service, Lorraine approached him slowly, arms open for a hug, words chosen with care. You seen Tiana since this all happened? Randall blinked. The first sign of disruption in his rhythm. Tiana? Yeah, Isaiah's girl. She was always over. I figured she'd be grieving too. Randall cleared his throat. No, haven't seen her. She probably keeping her distance. Can't blame her. Lorraine didn't press. Not then. But a new suspicion rooted in her chest. The next morning, she made a quiet call. One of the junior stylists at the salon, a girl named Tasha, had often seen Tiana around. She ever mentioned coming to the house that night? Lorraine asked casually. There was a pause. Actually, yeah. She said she dropped by late. Said she left something in Isaiah's room. I remember thinking that was weird. That was all Lorraine needed. Tiana had been at the house, but Randall never mentioned her. Not once. She didn't go to the police, yet. She went to Jamal, her goddaughter's husband. He installed smart security systems, the kind with hidden cameras and cloud backups. I just need you to check the footage, she told him. Tell me if anybody came or left that night. Within 2 days, he sent her screenshots. Tiana Graves on the Ellis front porch. Timestamp, 12:07 a.m. Tiana Graves leaving the next morning at 6:41 a.m. shoes in her hand. Hoodie pulled low. Lorraine stared at the images until her stomach turned. Why was she there that long? Why had Randall lied? When the truth starts to rot, even silence starts to smell. She printed the photos, sealed them in a manila envelope, and walked them into the Harrows Hill Police Department without ceremony. The investigation reawakened instantly. A judge approved the motion to pull the full video history from the Ellis home. The timeline unraveled fast. The old story, Randall asleep until the gunshots, Tiana not present, shattered. Tiana was brought in for questioning. She denied everything at first, said she had stopped by hours earlier, then left. But when detectives laid out the footage, her story cracked. She admitted to being there overnight, admitted to talking with Randall, but denied seeing or hearing the shooting. I was asleep in the guest room, she insisted. I heard something and left before anyone saw me. No one believed her, and the evidence was only just beginning to surface. A lab test came back within a week. Traces of gunshot residue on the right sleeve of one of Randall's long-sleeve shirts, the same one he was seen wearing in the doorbell footage around the time of the murder. He claimed he'd only touched the gun afterward, tried to disarm his son. But the burn pattern told a different story. He hadn't just picked it up. He'd fired it or stood too close when it went off. Then came the break no one expected. Isaiah's phone was unlocked. Deleted messages recovered. Most were benign. But on Randall's old cloud account, detectives uncovered something more damning. A message to Tiana 2 days before the murder. Once it's done, it's just us. Everything we talked about. No more looking back. There was no way to misunderstand it. No way to explain it away. Randall had not only orchestrated Nia's death, he had promised a life beyond it. Tiana stopped talking the moment she heard about the text. Her face paled. Her voice vanished. She asked for a lawyer. Detectives returned to question Isaiah again. This time, they didn't accuse. They laid everything on the table. The footage, the residue, the text. Isaiah broke. Not with tears, with silence. Then a whisper. She was breathing, he said. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought he'd stop me. But he just stood there, like he was waiting. He confessed to it all. The assault, the panic, the moment he crossed every boundary that ever held him together. But he didn't stop there. He spoke of the manipulation, the poison, the slow descent from desperation to destruction. How his father whispered like a devil, how Tiana turned cold when he needed warmth, how he felt invisible in a house he once called home. The investigators listened. No judgment, just gravity. They saw it for what it was, a storm made of choices. Some unforgivable, some coerced, but all of them real. Isaiah agreed to testify. His cooperation changed the course of the case. Instead of facing life, he accepted a deal, 18 years, with eligibility for parole after 12. But in his words, "I'd rather tell the truth than die holding his lie." Let this be a warning. No matter how broken life feels, no matter how heavy the debt, the silence, or the betrayal, violence is not the answer. There is always a way out that does not involve blood. If you are in a situation where you feel trapped, manipulated, or unsafe, please speak up. Speak out. Go to a trusted friend, a therapist, a community leader, the authorities. There is help. There is hope. And there is no shame in choosing life over silence. Randall Ellis was arrested on a warm Thursday morning while watering his lawn. No protest, no resistance. The same man who led community meetings and offered life advice now faced a list of charges that sounded like fiction. First-degree conspiracy to commit murder, accessory to homicide, and sexual abuse by coercion. Some neighbors refused to believe it. Others quietly admitted they'd always wondered. Tiana Graves disappeared after the arrest. A warrant was issued. She was found 3 days later at her aunt's house across the state line, packing a burner phone and a duffel bag. She was taken into custody without incident. Prosecutors painted her as both pawn and player. She dated Isaiah, seduced Randall, and stayed in that house long enough to watch it all collapse. Her silence had weight. So did the messages. The court didn't see innocence. They saw opportunity. She eventually pleaded out. 15 years, no parole. Randall went to trial. He pled not guilty. His attorneys painted him as a grieving father set up by a troubled son and a manipulative girl. But the evidence was iron. The gunshot residue, the messages, the timeline. The jury didn't deliberate long. Guilty on all counts. Sentenced to life. No parole. The courtroom was full that day. Former clients of Nia, her stylists, neighbors. Lorraine sat in the front row, her face unreadable. When the verdict was read, she whispered, "Finally." The salon didn't close after Nia's death. Lorraine stepped in, not because she wanted to, but because someone had to carry her cousin's dream. She kept it running with the same spirit, elegance, community, resilience. Clients returned. Slowly, carefully. They spoke softer now, hugged longer, tipped more generously. And across the street, in the cemetery tucked behind the old church, Nia's grave became something more than a resting place. It became a vow, a reminder, a warning. One day, a teenage girl sat cross-legged in front of her headstone and whispered, "I'll never let what happened to you happen to me." That is legacy. Not just the wealth we build or the titles we earn, but the truth our pain teaches those who come after us. Nia's story didn't end the night she died. It still breathes in the pauses between trust and caution, in the tension between silence and truth. And now it lives here. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. What choices do you think led to this tragedy? Could it have been stopped? Let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true stories just like this. Right here on True Crime's Altar, where truth is laid bare and every lie is a slow prayer to ruin.